very special Meet the Miniaturist. I'm very excited to have Roxanne Brathwaite with us today. She's from Sweet City Woman on Instagram. If you don't know, if you don't know about her now, you're gonna find out about her. So I'm so excited. Thank you for joining today. It's awesome to have you. I have been following your work for a long time. I'm just so thrilled with all of it that you do and the connections that you make to the stories that you tell. And I just want to hear all about that. But why don't we start a little bit further back? Let's talk a little bit about your day job, because I think, you're a furniture restorer by day. Is that right?
That is one of the things I do.
One of the things. So let's talk about what you do, and then let's talk about the miniatures and a little bit about your background.
Sure. So I wanted to start this company. I named it Hollis Newton, and it was restoring and reimagining antique and vintage furniture. And I've always had this fascination with furniture. And I found out that upholstery was just kind of this dying trade. So I just sought out and I found some upholsterers, some master upholsterers.
Yeah.
And I just asked them if they can, if I could be an apprentice.
Wow.
And yeah, that was in 2015. And, I just got connected with the most wonderful people, Berkeley and Pam.
Yeah.
And they taught me everything they knew.
Yeah.
And I launched this company out of that. And I was just about to do an official launch when the pandemic broke out. And I had to stop production. And and that first weekend, I just started making miniatures.
Oh, is that right? That's how it began.
That's how it began. So about a week before the whole lockdown, or maybe about a month, I would say a month, I came across this textile artist that was, they would just make miniatures. That wasn't part of their main jam. They were just, working it into their feed, their Instagram feed. And, I would see this, and they were placing these miniatures in cupboards, cabinets, bookshelves. And I said, oh, perfect. I could do that.
So you were inspired by that.
I'm going to do it one day. I don't have the time, but I'm going to do it.
So did you grow up with miniatures, or did you have a dollhouse? What's your exposure to miniatures before all the inspiration?
Yeah, so I remember growing up, I had 3 doll houses. One was the one that my mom made me one Christmas, best gift ever.
Oh, wow.
And one was like a neighborhood hand-me-down, I think. And the other was just a box that had a divider that I just flipped on its side, and I called it a brownstone. That was my brownstone walk-up.
Wow.
And I didn't have enough furniture to furnish all of them, so I would make furniture. I would just dig in the junk drawer, my dad's toolbox, and I would just make furniture. And I think when I turned about 12, I told my mom, I said, I think I want to do this as a hobby, and she didn't quite understand the whole hobbyist side of it. Yeah. So I remember her telling me, you have to start thinking about more grown-up stuff, So I just kind of put it away.
Like, no way.
Exactly.
Look at me now, Mom.
Yeah, exactly. I won't dare remind her that she said that.
Never tell a kid not to do something, because they're only going to want to do it.
Ever tell them that. So,
especially something like dollhouse and miniatures, because it is in you. You have to be involved. It was
always there. It was always there.
So you had the miniature. You caught the miniature bug early. And did you think at any point that it would become sort of like your world? Because it is now your world. But I want to ask you, the question is, because your design eye is incredible.
Thank you.
Where did that come from? Did you train interior design? Did you art?
I had no background in interior design, except just in my head, I would, look at magazines. And I know when I was young and, my dad was still with us, he would invest in real estate. And sometimes I would see the blueprints and stuff, and I would just imagine decorating the place and stuff like that. Yeah. And then I actually studied art history. My degree is in art history, and part of that was studying architecture and furniture design. So
so you do have an education in art.
Yes, yes, and graphic design too.
So it sounds like all these pieces put together making a lot more sense right now, for sure.
Exactly. They all kind of
Yeah.
come and interconnect. Yes.
So, because what I find so amazing and what's so interesting about you and your work, it is that it is different from other people. It is so your own, and it is so inspiring. You have this design vibe that no one else has. That I just love look at every single one of your posts because it's all different, it's all unique, and it's all amazing. There's a story behind each and every one of them, isn't that right? So talk a little bit about the inspiration, not only for the room boxes and the miniatures that you make, but the background behind the stories that you tell, because I think that's a huge part of what makes your work so interesting.
Well, yeah, I think it certainly became an important part. So when I first started making these pieces during the lockdown, I put a few of them up on Instagram. I just, needed content. I just thought one and done, I'll move on back to, my upholstery stuff.
Yeah.
And then I just discovered this miniature community. I was like, where, I had no idea. And I was
Wow.
like, I love you guys. You guys are just so supportive. You're so willing to share ideas and how to make things. And I thought, okay, great. So I'm going to continue on doing this because you guys love that. I wasn't really trying. I'm really going to put some thought and stuff into the next one. So while I was doing that, the Black Lives Matter protests kind of broke out around the globe. And I was working on a piece, and it became almost therapy. I was just trying to work through everything, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to put 3 portraits in there: Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, and Breonna Taylor.
Yeah.
Put that, and then I put things that were kind of supporting that, like the books on the shelves kind of supported civil rights movement and things like that, and artists that stood behind that. So when I released that, so I placed it in this bookshelf behind me,
Oh yeah.
and I took pictures, posted it, and the feedback that I got was that it was just this contemplative place. They just were inspired by it, and I thought, okay, maybe I'm onto something here. Maybe I can use miniatures as a medium to talk about different things.
Wow.
So that's just how it started. There's an event here called Design TO, and the first one that I did, I
Oh,
addressed some social issues that were impacted by the COVID lockdown.
interesting.
So infant partner abuse, child abuse, and also police interaction with people who are suffering from mental health issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I want to
yeah.
ask you, so when after you made that, let's say your first piece, and it wasn't necessarily socially oriented, social, cause oriented,
Mhm.
what made you decide to fill that box with things like what was it making you feel when you decided to put those pictures up, or what was that spark that said, let me do this, let me try this, and how did it make you feel?
Part of it was for myself. It was therapeutic, right? It was just working through all this emotion that I had, the frustration, the anger. I was just challenging it through all these pieces. And I wanted to create this safe place. I started thinking about what are safe places? What do safe places look like and feel like? So that kind of sparked that whole thing. And then going forward, I always wanted to make these safe places. People would just come in and have peace and solitude, either by themselves or want to just invite family and friends
Yeah.
over and just have talks about the issues and things. So yeah, I just wanted to create an environment, like a peace of mind kind of thing.
Yeah. I love how, you started this, you put it out there, and then all of a sudden people started like lifting you and encouraging you. And I love that little connection there, because would that have happened if you didn't share that with the world? I wonder if you would have just been, at your happy place, but now you're sharing it and you're being encouraged by others. And I guess my other question is going to be, so there are social themes connected to it. Do you hear a lot of feedback from people who are following you and saying this helped me, or this has inspired me, or I learned something from this? Because that's what I think, I'm so amazed by in terms of your work, because it is teaching people things.
Well, that's something that just kind of knocked me off my feet. The
Yeah.
one that I did for Design TO, the 3 miniature suites, people were just asking, what can they do to help? And I thought, I was just totally caught off guard. I thought, oh, I missed this whole element of
Yeah.
setting up something where people can either, you know, sign a petition or read more about an issue. So I totally missed that.
Yeah.
So the latest one I did, the Dementia Suite, same thing. People just came forward with their stories. I'd be crying when I'm working on stuff,
Yeah.
and it just completely caught me off guard yet again.
So
So yeah.
when you're starting a new project, let's say, where do you draw your inspiration from?
Well, I
Is it
from the social part, it's definitely things that affect me or things that I see around me that I care about. And then aesthetically, just everything that that I love. My full scale spaces are filled with books and plants and
yeah.
secondhand furniture. So I kind of shrink that all down into my
Yeah.
space.
So let's talk about the actual room boxes, let's say. What kind of materials do you use? Where do you draw from? Do you scratch make everything? Is it drawn from all different places? Talk a little bit about that process of putting the piece together.
Sure. So pulling the pieces together, I'm a scratch builder. I didn't know that term before, but I'm a scratch builder. I build everything.
Yeah.
So and what's wonderful about that is, all these skills that I built up over the years, sewing, weaving, painting, pottery.
Well, we didn't talk about that. So you have grown up with doing all of these things, all these hand making things.
Yes, I've always been very hands-on and
Yeah.
learning new skills, and
Yeah.
so these spaces just allow me to pull all that together
Yeah.
and put it in one space. Photography, weaving, painting, all that.
So your pieces are filled with all different materials, all different techniques you use to make them.
Yeah, I have a preference for natural materials. So if I want to make a leather couch, I'll find leather. I'll find some scrap leather and make it. Things that are made out of wood. I want them in wood, so I'll find wood and So my preference is always, natural materials. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I just think it looks so authentic and better. Yeah, it works good for my room.
And then stylistically, where does your inspiration drawn? I mean, is it what would you classify your vibe as? I mean, it is your own for sure. Is it?
Yeah.
It's a little boheme. It's a little,
Right.
It's a little retro. I don't know. What would you call it?
Yeah. So when I was coming up, way before the miniatures, I had this blog, Sweet City Woman, and I wanted to create it around, creating creative spaces using local economy, craftspeople, artists, and secondhand economy. So an acronym I phrased as Le Cachet. Very fancy.
Wow. Yeah.
But so in my miniature spaces, I bring that whole idea into these spaces. So I use what would appear to be secondhand furniture because it draws from a lot of the mid-century modern silhouettes. And artists, of course. I put a lot of art in there and books and the whole idea of local economy, building from buying from that and putting it in the room, and just working with craftspeople and artisans. So I'm hoping that space would look a take on that appearance. So it's Le Cachet.
I love it. And so do you have a favorite piece? I mean, you've done a lot of work in a short amount of time. So, I mean, do you have a favorite that of any of one of them, and why, obviously?
I think my favorite is always the last piece I did. So every piece that I do, I'm like, okay, now this is my favorite, not that one. So
So
I think
what is the piece? What is it? Describe it, because we'll wait to share a photo of it.
So I did a black leather couch, and I did the tufted buttons, and it has the retro mid-century modern look, and I had this idea in my head. I knew what I wanted it to look like, and when I built it, I was like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
I love it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my
All
favorite
right.
piece right now.
Yeah. Was there a social theme connected to that, or sometimes you just have purely, wonderful
No,
interior design room boxes?
yeah, that's an element.
I love it.
So if I do, I don't really have an idea for the next one. It will come to me eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, that can also be a part of it. If I'm
Yeah.
doing a living room, I'll definitely pull that in. Yeah.
So now you're currently showing your work. Is that right? I did see a post on Instagram.
Well, I think time this airs, it will be over. I'm actually
Oh.
going to strike it down today. Yeah. So it had a 2-week run. This
Huh.
was the Dementia miniature suite that
Uh-huh.
I did.
Oh,
Was yeah, it was kind of a love letter to my mom.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Mhm.
was it one piece or is it several?
It was one room. It was one
Room.
suite. Yeah. So the box is like 18 by 10 by 10,
Big.
and it's a kitchen,
Yeah.
scene and some seating areas, and it's represents the full scale kitchen that I would have loved to give to my mom.
Oh
And
yeah.
on each side, you'll see lots of clocks, and the whole idea about it is that if you didn't know what time it was and you walked into a room full of clocks, all showing a different time, you know, that I equate to what my mom's dementia suite would be like, yeah, or state rather,
Wow.
just not knowing what time and just having that disorientation of time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh,
so it was a bittersweet piece, definitely. So
I bet. I bet. Well, we're definitely going to show some images of it for sure. Are there any shows coming up that we can look forward to or that are in the works?
not right now. I think I'm gonna focus this year on building up the store because last year I just didn't have the time with my mom and
Yeah.
a couple other things going on. So I'm gonna focus on that. But I do have a workshop at the Gardner Museum here in Toronto. It's sold out,
Oh,
which is great.
oh,
Uh, but I will be working with some students, some participants, to build a room box with a lot of found objects and things that they have handy. So no
that's
special tools or
awesome.
anything like
Well,
that. So
it's interesting how it comes full circle because I wanted to mention how, those upholsterers were very generous to, show you and teach you. It's very similar to the miniatures world where we're at risk of losing it if we don't translate and transfer over some of the knowledge and teach the others. And it is a very welcoming, community as you have found. So
right,
it's interesting now you are transferring your skills and your
right.
talent and
I didn't
your
even think of
knowledge. It's a
that.
beautiful thing. That's awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. So wait, you mentioned you're going to focus on your store, you said, or what are you focusing on this year?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to stock the store this year. Last year I just didn't have the time to do
Oh, I
it,
missed
but
that. What store are we talking about? Your what?
just on the Etsy
Oh,
miniature
because that was
store.
going to be
Yeah,
my next question. So where do you sell now? So you do sell online on Etsy, and what are
right.
the types of things that people can look for? Do you do full room boxes for sale?
No, I do mostly accessories.
Oh,
I will be adding some furniture this year,
mhm.
as well as some signature rugs. I've been working on a lot of rugs, so I'm going to add those in there. And yeah, just things that the things that I love to do. I'm just going to
That's
pack
the
them in
thing.
there.
If you're going to
Yeah,
spend time making something, you better be enjoying it. I
exactly.
tell artists all the time, you better love what you're doing first. It's not about selling because you're going to be miserable if you're doing it for some other reason. You're just getting
Exactly.
started. So,
Exactly.
do you think maybe we'll see you at a show sometime in the future? Have you thought about doing the miniature show circuit?
Yeah, I have been. There was well, mostly as a special guest. I did the one here in Toronto and met Mini, with the other Best in Miniature contestants, the Toronto contestants.
Oh, that's
Uh,
right. I did see that.
mhm,
Yes.
mhm.
Let's talk a little bit about Best in Miniature. So they discovered you. They found you. And you got to be on this reality TV show, if people don't know, Best in Miniature. And how
And
was that experience?
going in, I really felt I had nothing to lose. I was like, I've only been in this game for a little while, let me just throw caution to the wind and just try it, And yeah, it was an experience. I met you know, amazing giants in the miniature
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So, and I learned so much. You know, I went in, I didn't even know things like they have pre-made floors. What? I had no idea. So, so
Hey,
I just walked away with so much knowledge. You know,
that's
so
awesome.
so that it was a good experience for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Hmm.
That's terrific.
Hmm.
Well, so
Hmm.
you have so much going on. I'm so thrilled that were able to connect and chat because, like I said, I just love your work and I want everybody to know about your work and see your work. So I can't wait to see what else is coming down the pike. We'll make sure that we put the your Etsy link to your Etsy shop. We'll can't wait to see it being filled, and maybe we'll see more of you at in the show circuits in the upcoming years, and just continued awesome work. Thank you so much for being here today.
One more announcement.
Yes.
Almost
Uh-oh, but
forgot.
wait, there's more.
There's
Yes.
more. So I'm a scholarship winner for IGMA. So,
No! Congrats.
so
This year?
this year, yeah.
Well, guess what? I'm going to see you in June because I'm going to build school.
Amazing.
No,
Amazing.
congratulations. You're going to have the best week of your life.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh my goodness. I'm so
Yeah.
excited for you. Congratulations. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Oh, that is the best news ever.
Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys at home for joining this Meet the Miniaturist. And we'll see you again soon. All right?
Thank you,
All right.
Darren.
Bye.